Would you mind telling the story of how you won the gold?
Oh, yeah. So, where do I start? Being at the Winter Olympics, you get told officially maybe a few weeks before that you're going to go. You kind of know you're going if you're kind of two spots and you're the top two ranked females on your team, for example. We headed out to Calgary, a team holding camp a few weeks beforehand. And then we moved on to Whistler, to Vancouver. And there was Whistler, Vancouver Olympics was set in two sites. There was like the Whistler people who were your very closed sports. So let's just say your ice skating, speed skating, things that were more under a roof, curling. And then up the mountain in Whistler was obviously the mountain ski, snowboarding, and the bobsleigh and skeleton. So we did a big opening ceremony, which I went along to, which, to be fair, is the moment that it really, really hits you that you're going to go to an Olympic Games. You're walking in behind the Union Jack flag. You are in a huge stadium. You have literally spent hours and hours next door in a hockey stadium that no one even knows that you're waiting there, all the audience, waiting your turn to be able to walk through into that Olympic stadium behind your flag. And I think the buzz and the excitement and that energy, it's unreal. We've all watched it on the TV, but that moment that you're the athlete, it's a very surreal moment. But I think it lights that passion, and any Olympic opening or closing ceremony I watch now just has that fire and passion in me. And then ultimately, we headed up to Whistler, and you're just doing your day job. This is it. We're at Olympic Games, but I'm going to do everything what I normally do in any other competition. You know, you have your whole routines prepared and planned and prepped. We have 3 days of training, 2 runs a day to learn the track. We had done a World Cup race on it the year before, and I'd got a silver medal in that World Cup race. So I knew me and the track suited each other. I was on form. My sprinting, I was the best in the world at my push. And yeah, you just needed to go down those 6 times to learn the track as much as you could, to write notes, to watch people, to learn from the experience, to soak it up, to soak up the atmosphere, but ultimately to do what you've done every other day of your life, to not change anything, to not do anything crazy just because it's the Olympics. Don't go and eat some weird, crazy foods that you've never eaten before that might upset your stomach, or, you know, don't suddenly do something different with your equipment that you've never ever done before. So yeah, it was just that normal day job. And then an Olympic skeleton race is raced over 2 days. So 2 runs a day for 2 days, 4 runs get added up, and every single one of those 4 runs counts. And so I was 5th off on day 1. That was my world ranking at the time. So you went off your world ranking. So my race number bib was number 5. It goes off 1 to however many were in our competitive field. And then for the second run, the slowest person goes off first. And then you go to bed and you wake up, and then the fastest person goes off first. And then again, it's reversed order. So I was in the lead straight away. I put down the fastest times. I went to bed knowing I was in the lead, knowing I'd put down the fastest times. I'd broken the track record. I felt good. The track felt good. My equipment felt good. Yeah, I was in a really good place physically. I was in a good place, although my back was really dodgy, actually. I was high on as many painkillers that I could take, working with the physio many, many hours a day just to keep me glued together, shall we call it. But I remember that feeling of going to bed and knowing, well, I could be Olympic champion tomorrow. But I also put that thought to the very back of my head because I knew I had to be consistent. I had to do the same thing 2 more times. I never let the thought of that end, imagining myself on the podium, to ever really enter my mind. Because for me, it was about doing the same thing consistently 2 more times. And that's all I focused on. So yeah, standing off on that last day of racing, first off, smashed another track record. I beat my own track record from the day before. And then it came down to that 4th and final run, and the changing room gets emptier and emptier and emptier because you were the last person going off. Everyone knows who's in the lead. They're at the bottom of the track, standing on the winner's podium. And I didn't listen to anyone else's times. I'd done a whole practice, and my kind of thing was that I didn't want to focus or listen in on the other girls, because that would not affect my performance. That was not going to help me get down quicker. I didn't want to know who was in the lead or what had happened, or if anyone had crashed, or if someone had put a super fast time down. That wasn't going to affect me and my performance and me lying on my sled. So I literally, fingers in my ears, little hum, 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 not listening to any of the loud tannoys. And then I knew, I'd focused. I stood out on the track for the very last time. And I just knew I just had to take a big, deep breath, and this is it. Do the same thing. Do what you've spent your whole life training for. And yeah, of course, I was crazy nervous, shaky legs. There's a camera literally stuck at the bottom of your feet. And I remember thinking, oh, my legs are shaking, like the camera's like zooming in on my shaky foot. But then your head just switches. That's it. Power forward. I had my little words of eat the ground up, sprint as fast as you can, load onto that sled, get into that perfect body position, that perfect aerodynamic form that I'd spent hours in a wind tunnel perfecting, and concentrate, counting those corners down, 1, 2, 3, doing all my steers. And then over the finish line, I didn't know if I had won. You're so fast. I went to 92 miles per hour on that run. There's no brakes. You've got to go up a steep hill with extra things, soft padding to try and slow you down. And so everyone else knew I had won. They knew who was in first, second, third before I knew. And so it's only when I get off the sled, and a coach was at the bottom of the track at the time, and he hugs me and he's like, "You're Olympic champion." And then you just don't really know what to do. I mean, I'm a naturally very shy person. And I look back at it now, and I look at videos, and my helmet's still on my head. I don't even take my helmet off, or my hood, and I don't shake my hair out. Let's look pretty here for the cameras and look nice. No, I've kind of got my helmet balanced on my head for all the photos, and someone chucks me a Union Jack flag. And I'm just so nervous. I don't even sort of just take the time to hang it out properly and put over my shoulders. It's sort of all in a little twisted, if I could turn back the clocks, I would just take my helmet off and get the flag looking nice. And but then, yeah, it's just wild. And the biggest feeling you get is just that of relief that you've done it. I knew I could win a medal. I knew I could win the Olympics. I knew I was in the best shape and form of my life. I dedicated every day since missing out on Turin to go in and get into those Olympics and winning a medal. And it was all worth it. So it was, just that kind of relief, and that obviously that a huge amount of feeling pride that I'd got a medal for my country. And standing on that podium, I had to wait one day to actually get my medal. They kind of grouped together quite a lot of podiums in Vancouver. So I had to wait a day and wait for that moment to have the medal put around my neck.